Welcome to Forward Momentum, a podcast about independent watchmaking, a niche within the watchmaking world where some of the most talented, creative, and innovative watchmakers are redefining what a watch can be. Join me as we uncover the stories of craft, trace the history of independent watchmaking, and explore the evolving watch market. You'll hear interviews with watchmakers, journalists, and collectors as we dive into this fascinating world and the watch collecting lifestyle. Welcome back to Forward Momentum. What's happening, watch fans? Todd with Idea 33, back with my friend, of course, CQ the Watch Guy. CQ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be back. I think the last episode went pretty well. I got a few calls on it, so very excited.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to break down the Geneva auctions. Looking forward to breaking down Hong Kong today. How was the CP time event? I know when we were talking about Geneva, God, I keep wanting to say New York, but New York is coming.
It's so hard.
It's auction season is real, guys. How was the event, man?
Oh, it was awesome. So that was in Dallas with LaFin Boutique, who hosted it, and it was sponsored by Arnold & Son. It was a really, really good event. It was my first time like spending a little bit of extended time in Dallas, and the Uptown area I really loved. And just, one thing I love about CP time is so many fresh faces I always meet. And we were finally able to do something in the Texas area after like so many of our guys have been asking us. So it was just like, 40 to 50 new fresh faces to the event. So it was awesome. Always awesome to just connect with people and talk watches. So it was great. We got to get you to the next one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'd love to. That would be amazing. I was thinking about it this time and I was like, man, I probably should have gone to that. Like, bummer.
Yeah,
I feel like I missed
time.
out.
No, it's a good time. Man. Now, one thing is we talk watches, but we definitely we know how to enjoy ourselves at the CP time party. So next time I'm gonna get you roped into one. Don't worry.
All right. Yeah, we talked about the experience part, and the experience is everything.
Yes.
Speaking of experiences, Hong Kong is a hard one for those of us who are U.S. based. The auctions start at, really inconvenient times, like 3 a.m. I was not waking up to watch them. Let's just put it that way. But I'd love to kind of break them down. We had Phillips, we had Christie's, Sotheby's had a bye week, if you will, and a late entry to me. Thank you, Instagram, for informing me. Antiquorum had an auction in
I didn't
Hong Kong
even know.
too. Yeah,
until you said it just now, I was like, oh wow, really? I know they had one in Geneva, but I did not know they did one. Are we missing the Legends Monaco auction? Did that happen yet or no?
I don't know. I know that
okay. All right, forget about it.
I have that on the calendar to pay attention to, but I don't know if it's happened or not yet. I feel like that is we spent a lot of time last week talking about auction houses. I feel like that's an auction house that's kind of up and coming, that is really finding its legs. And I think that would be a good breakdown to do too one of these days.
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting to see the landscape of auction houses where you have Phillips, who we like. That's your showstopper, right? That's your triple, your major league squad. Christie's as well, but Phillips with Boxing Russo is just something. There's a magic there. Then you have Antiquorum, which is taking the role of, they're going to give you more of a machine gun approach with a ton of lots and things like that. But you don't hear about the advertising needs to be worked on, because I think me and you are both people who are like knee deep in watch news every day. So between you and I, we should have heard about it. And then you have Legends of Monaco, they're a new group, but they're bringing important watches to the table, and they seem to be getting very, very good results. And I'm sure they have good backers in the collector base. So very interesting to see the landscape play out in 2025 and see who's hitting the balls and hitting home runs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, speaking of Phillips in association with Box and Russo, let's dive in, man. I thought they had some strong results here across the board. The Journe Tourbillon Souverain for $453K. I thought that was a good number for that watch. Those are still strong. They're probably down from the pandemic high of, like 550 maybe. I feel like they're down from the high, but they're still incredibly strong.
Yeah, there's definitely down from the peak, but a wave is happening with Journe where like it was up at the peak, everything dropped down because everything just kind of the bubble popped, and now you're seeing highly respectable, highly collectible watches just going right back up. And Journe the Tourbillon did very well. Pretty much every genre, even Elegantes, are like still hammering. There's a black label Elegante that's coming up in New York, and I'm sure that will do great numbers as well. So I was watching that Tourbillon because I did. For some reason, I decided to wake up early to record these, and then I went back to sleep and I kind of rewatched. I'm torturing myself just to make the content. I'm torturing myself. So I did skip through to that, and I saw that there was some good bidding action there from around the globe as well. So I think we were talking before we hit record, that there are people out there who are putting together their Jorn collections, maybe to sell and profit after he decides to retire and really put the line in the sand in the last era of FP Jorn. But I think there are a lot of people who just really are completionist collectors. And I think a lot of Jorn collectors they have the means, let's say that. So if you have the means and if you fall in love with a brand like FP Jorn, the best way to probably get the good watches are probably auctions right now. I hunt for Jordans all day. You don't see the good ones on Chrono 24. My old friends at 1916, who, when I was there, we were the buffet, baby. You could just call me up and just, do you want tomatoes? Do you want lettuce? You want yellow dye? You want brass movement? What are we talking about? 38, 40, 42? What are we talking about today? So even they're a little bit lean, and that just shows you that people are holding on to the watches and they understand what's going on. To get a watch out of a Jorn collector's collection, you're gonna have to pay up for it right now. So you're seeing that being reflected in the auction results, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like the Vagabondage too, like a watch that Jorn was reticent to put his name on because of inherent accuracy issues in jumping watches. That hammered at 300 or was all in at 356K. Like a watch that he didn't want to make, man. Like that whole I would love to see what a triptych goes for, what the 1, 2, and 3 as a series would go for. Like put it in a coffin box. I would love to see that auction someday.
So it's so funny, right? I looked at that result, and what's crazy, Todd, is I sold a full Vagabondage set, matching numbers, for $275,000. You know what I mean? I remember when I asked for that 275, there wasn't like an easy sell, right? That was like, oh man, are you sure? I don't know. You guys are getting, I think the words were, you guys are getting a little giddy over there. I think those are the exact words from that collector, who's a very, very good friend. And to see just the V2 in Rose selling for 300, so the sets are obviously well over $1 million now. And I think for a time, 1916 did have $1 million set, and a lot of people were like hemming and hawing. And I remember selling the single pieces for $150, $175, and a lot of people were back and forth. It's like, how can you put together the set? And then when the Rose Gold 3 was made, or the one, excuse me, the one was made, people are of course gonna pay up to make those complete sets, just because it's something very, very special. There's only 15 out there, if I'm right. So yeah, but just in saying that, listen, and that wasn't 10 years ago. That would have been top 6 to 7 years ago, but probably 5 years ago, 275 for the full matching set, box, everything. Insane. Insane that one piece is going for 300 right now.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, like we talked about last week, I think this week just proved Jorn, or last week just proved Jorn is incredibly strong still. Of the independents, it's the strongest brand out there. You watch Moser going low, you watch the Moser by MB&F collabs going for about retail. D Bethune is kind of all over the map. It's really piece dependent. I think MB&F is really piece dependent too. Like this auction, you had the Maitre du Temp, Kari Voonalainen and Andreas Streller piece went for 38 grand. Like
such an insane result. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No,
because when you think about the era that we're in, right? The era of like FP Jorn's cracking numbers, Philip Dufour cracking numbers, independents are ruling right now. And you just think, what if Maitre du Temps could hold it out for like 4 or 5 more years, Todd? It's so insane. Like I looked at that watch, and it's so funny. I'm so mad. A client messaged me about it, and I was like, I wasn't aggressive with them to say like, hey, you should bid on this. This will probably go low, because I figured it would end up high, and there's a few that float around the 50s or 60s on the market right now. To see this go low, but Maitre du Temps is literally all the great independents housed together, making funky watches. Literally, if they came out today, but they were under LVMH, that would have probably been a 250, 300 grand watch.
Yeah,
It's like, it's
easily.
insane. It's insane. And
Yeah.
they made some really funky watches, but it's just so funny to see that piece go so low when
Yeah.
literally, if it was re-established today, would probably be the brand all the collectors would go after. Rudolitens, Schiller, all the great guys ran through there. So very insane to see, the value that can be had for the quality. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, like, it goes to show that there's still value out there in the market. Like, not everything is like crazy price insanity. Like, there is still value out there. There are some incredible watches to be found out there. Other stuff that stood out to me, like the biggest thing I think that stood out to me this week, Crayon. They're anywhere. They had two in the auction. They had a rose gold and a white gold, 194K for the rose, 162, let's call it, for white gold. Just like strong results from Crayon.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the results from Crayon. Really, really amazing watches that, what's interesting about them is aesthetically they're so simple, but they're so complex when you really understand what's going on. And I just love to see that type of watchmaking is really being appreciated, because I find that we're in a world where like a Greubel Forsey or some of the most complicated watches, when you see them get hammered, they just don't get what they deserve. And it's really good to see Crayon, which is a much smaller operation, husband and wife team, if I'm correct. They're just churning out some amazing, insanely complicated watches, but they're getting the respect they deserve. So they're a brand that I root for, and I'm really happy to see. And it gives people who want to jump in and get Crayon now. It makes it easy for you to buy it, to swipe your card, to send the wire on a Crayon piece, because you're maybe not everybody's going to be a buyer of a Crayon, but you're definitely not going to get brutalized. Seeing such strong results on the auction market, so I think the independents who have found a way to really communicate what their vision is, what they're trying to achieve horologically, and the imprint that they want to leave in the world. I think those watchmakers and those brands, they're finding success because collectors have funds. The capital is there, but nobody is going to rush to throw capital away. And if they can believe in your vision, I think a lot of people now do not mind supporting really good watchmaking if they can see where you're trying to go. And with Crayon, you see, you hear his vision, you see what they're thinking, and you see he's been making new watches in a pretty good pace, in my opinion. So you can see what he's trying to do, and it's an easy brand to support. So I'm very happy to see those results.
Yeah. And also, I think what I'm seeing now as we're talking here about this is like, it's the era of the classic watch. Like, these are all round, like the watches we're talking about are all round. They're reasonably sized, let's call it 38 to 42. People might not like the 42 comment, but like, you can wear a 42 millimeter watch. It's going to be fine.
You won't die. Your wrist won't fall off. I'm sorry, because like exactly. When I started in the industry, I started selling Breitlands. So I'm selling super Avengers for 48 millimeter, right? So I understand that's a very big watch. But I woke up one day and a 41 was a huge watch. You see people, they're showing off their beautiful 40. Oh my gosh, you got this monstrosity. I'm like, man, I remember when a 41 Breitland was like a lady's watch. You know what I mean? So it's okay. You can wear a 40, you can wear a 42. You're all right. Everybody's going to be
okay. Everybody's going to be okay. I think for me, the big takeaway here, though, is that this is the era of the classic watch. Like, these are classic, round, reasonably sized cases that anyone could pull off. And, we're not talking about crazy design language or anything, out of the ordinary here. It's white gold, rose gold, platinum, stainless steel, round cases. And I think that's what's kind of winning the moment right now, or that feels like it's what's winning the moment right now.
I'd agree with you 100%. It's so funny. I just finished a stream before we started, and a question that came up from one of the collectors was, what is a luxury watch? What is your definition of a luxury watch? And he's a traditional collector. He does like Patek and Jordan and things like that. And the point he was trying to make is like, if I want to spend this type of money, I want something that's a little bit more classic aesthetics. Of course, I want the complications and things. I want something that is aesthetically kind of fits into some boxes. He didn't enjoy a Richard Mille or something that's too futuristic or fantastical. He doesn't feel, in his opinion, that's luxury. And I think it really goes into what you're saying here. Right now, the collectors have really kind of swung back into like, we want traditional watchmaking. We want to see your vision. We don't mind paying for heritage. We don't mind paying for high-end complications and futuristic tech, but it needs to be in an aesthetically pleasing case that some can see as timeless. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are afraid of getting into something that's a fad or a trend, and it's just much easier to buy something that like a Patek Philippe, where we're literally looking at auction results where 30, 40, 50-year-old watches are hammering excellent prices, and you're looking right next at modern brands who are you thought were hitting really well, and they're just not hitting. And a lot of
Yeah.
people would say, oh, well, these are the old guys' watches. And there's just something about timeless designs done the right way. Just our eyes as humans, we just enjoy it. We just like to feel it. And I think when you start spending a real high dollar amount, you're just looking for different things. I think where people who buy the more futuristic watches auctions, they're getting great values. That's what you're seeing. People always scoop up Greubels and things like that. You always notice these watches don't go unsold. There's just not enough people to really create that excitement to have the results that you'd expect.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's the, it's the old man era of watch collecting all over again.
Yeah,
And
I love it.
personally, I'm there for it. Like I wrote about this at the beginning of the year. Like I am fully in on this trend. I don't know. I'm definitely not leading the trend, but I definitely have bought in. I have drunk the Kool-Aid, man. And I am, I'm looking for watches now that are sort of time only, classic, round, with complicated movements, or interesting features. Like I love a hidden tourbillon, like the T30 that's coming up in New York. Like, give me simple on the front, complex in the back, and like it's a secret between me and the watch. Nobody else has to know that it's there. Like
Exactly.
That's what I'm looking for.
And I think for so many people, it's getting back to that, right? Because now, I guess, like our hobby is so much more visible, Todd, right? Where before, 9 out of 10 people, they might know if I had a Submariner on, but if I had a FP Journe Chronometric Blue, nobody knew. Like 10 years ago, nobody knew, right? Where today, you have Elegante on, they know what that is. You have Mark Zuckerberg's wearing Greubel Forsey handmade ones. So now, our hobby is so much more public that I do think that people are searching more for that intimate connection. And I think often that just goes back into heritage models. Like Patek Philippe made me fall in love with watches. So just like you said, you love hidden tourbillons. There's nothing more than I love than a hidden tourbillon. And people are like, why? Don't you want to see the tourbillons? Like, no. That's not what it was never made to be a V16 engine that you drive with the hood open. It's for you and that watch to know that all day, every day, it is fighting off gravity just to make sure you can have accurate time. And that intimate feeling that I think with some modern brands can be lost a little bit because you just focus on different things in the marketing. And I just think people enjoy a good, timeless design. And of course, some people like tourbillons, some people like perpetual calendars and chronographs, but you're just seeing over and over again the brands that are doing good are just leaning into that heritage, those aesthetics, and what they're improving on, which I love. Instead of giving you 15 tourbillons or all these crazy things, they're giving you well-finished watches. They're giving you cases that are really good. They're giving you dials that have enamel or guilloche. They're giving you things where if you just had 5 minutes in the airport and your mind is going crazy, you just had your espresso, you could stare at that watch and it could just talk to you and tell you a story. And I think that's just a very important thing. You need to have real essence in your timepieces for it to have longevity. And that's what's succeeding today and always will be, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you, man. I think this is just the era that we're entering. I think people are, the pendulum has swung back this way. It'll go back towards crazy watches and bigger sizes, I'm sure, at some point. It always seems to happen, but maybe we're in the, like 7-year slide towards a more classic watch. We'll see. I guess we can, put a line in the sand here and see what happens in the future.
Exactly.
I certainly think this is the way things are going. Let's jump over to Christie's, man. My big takeaway, I think the Daniel Ross did okay here across the board. The Creedor, Ichi center seconds. 193K. I thought that was incredibly strong for that watch.
Great support for Creedor. Creedor is really, it's been always really respected, but price wise, you're just seeing people paying up for them now. So it's
Yeah.
very, very good to see on that side.
I thought that
I'd
was
agree with.
cool. I
Mhm.
mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, no. I was going to just comment on Daniel Roths as well. You're seeing, 'cause I don't think all of these were the older Daniel Roths where he was there. A couple of them were. So you're seeing even some of the more modern ones where the Daniel Roth fingerprints aren't there. They're starting to get decent results as well. And it's a brand where I tell people, if you want something new, vintage, if you are in a betting mood, why not? It's a cool, funky watch. I just don't pay too crazy if it's not before 1995.
Yeah, and if it's not exactly what you were looking for,
Yes.
if
That,
like the
number one.
the metal or the complication isn't exactly what you were looking for, yeah, be more conservative on those, I think. Let's see here, man. RM, the diver and the RM30, the RM28 diver, 68K. I think we all know the market for round RMs is slim to
Non-existent.
non-existent after initial sale. So that one kind of speaks for itself. And then the RM30 at 136K. I don't know if there are just too many of them in the market now, or they remade the 30 and they've got the V2 out now. It just seems like RM has kind of come down from its peaks.
Yeah, I just think a lot of dealers are holding up the RM market. I know a lot of people who love RM, but it's one of those brands, right? I've sold a lot of watches and I've worked in, some of the biggest dealers out there on the secondary side. And it's never been a brand that I sold a ton of, or even the companies I work for transacted in a ton of. It always seems that there's certain dealers who really specialize in that clientele and the RM market. And it's just a whole different type of clientele. And I do think people won't like to hear it, but it is a very, very, very high end fashion brand. Right. It's something that it's the only brand, right? I always say people talk to me about colors versus the numbers, versus the
Yeah.
model numbers and the complications. I like the red one. I like the yellow one. I want the pink strap. They're not like, oh, I want the RM30 versus the 16 versus the 61 or something like that. So, there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that becomes a little bit tricky is that at the price point these people are entering into, they really only kind of trick a certain type of collector base, right?
Yeah.
And holding power goes as the trend goes, right? You're always going to have the F1 guys who are going to support. You're always going to have certain groups who are going to support. But as a new brand pops up, the stock of other brand goes down, right? As you see people wearing chrome heart Rolex watches and paying 50 to 60,000 for a silver bracelet on a 1994 Submariner. I've seen it. These are the people who also would pay $500,000 for RM just on the colors, right?
Yeah.
And when they're done, they're just kind of done. They move on to something else. So we're seeing
Yeah.
that happen. And I think you're just going to continue to see a slide because it's still a game to get RM. So on the primary side, there's still a lot of people who are turned off because they can't get into it. The retail prices have come up so high, and then it's just really trading between dealer to dealer. So I think special RMs will do great, but I think most guys who really love RM are just going to wait, let it fall, and then pick them up at great prices that you have. If you love a diver, you could steal RM divers all day.
Yeah.
Nobody wouldn't love to get a call on a round face RM right now.
Yeah, totally, man. And then I think the big lot here, Journe Sonnery Souverain, stainless steel on the bracelet with the box, with all the repair parts, 2.23 million all in. That's strong. And I got to be honest, it's strong for a Peter that I don't think sounds that great. I think there are better sounding repeaters out there. I'm not sure if it's the steel in the case, but that seemed. Let's see here. What's a good word for that? That seemed anxious
Exuberant.
or exuberant. There we go.
You
You guys are
know,
getting a little overzealous with these,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I think, like you said, it's just a strong, strong number. Of course, it is steel and the steel bracelet. You get all the accoutrement, all that stuff. But are you collecting this because you enjoy mini repeaters? Because if you enjoy mini repeaters, like you said, probably not the best sounding one. or are you somebody who's just hedging your bets and just say, hey, this is a very rare setup, rare configuration. I'm gonna buy this. I got the scratch. Let's hold it for 10, 15 years. Who knows what this will hammer for?
Yeah.
So it makes me think it's a little bit like this. It also could be, somebody from the Middle East or something who just like they really want this watch, and in the steel and metal, it would be perfect for their collection. So, but I do agree that in this market, to see these prices for Jorns and ones like these as well is very, very interesting. And it just shows that there's a higher floor there than a lot of people realize. That kind of went away. It was lower a year and a half ago, and that floor behind the scenes, because so many are traded that we don't know about, seems to be coming much, much higher. And I think it remains the king of independence at auctions. But this one particularly, very surprising that this one went that high.
Yeah, 100%, man. Just a crazy, crazy number for that watch. I don't actually remember how many Sonneries they made, but I don't think they made a whole lot of them. So I think in the grand scheme of things, the number makes sense. But for 2.23 million, I think there's other repeaters out there that I'd be looking at personally. If you were looking for just a minute repeater, if you just love repeaters, and you had to have something, I think there's other options.
Yeah, I'd agree. And let's see. So there's 60 out there. Yeah, it's aggressive. Not all, of course, only maybe one or two have the bracelet, but still there's 60 in existence. It's a strong number. It's a very strong number. I'd be interested to see if this ever comes back to market, or if maybe somebody just really, really, really wanted to take it home.
Yeah, definitely going to be scouring the auctions to see if this comes back, or if somebody else sees this result and decides to put theirs on the block come this fall.
I would,
because we got 3. You got a whole nother, more than 3. You got a whole nother set of opportunities coming to sell some watches here. That's crazy, man. All right, the auction we didn't know was happening. Antiquorum. Okay, one thing I have to give Antiquorum a shout out, man. They do something that most other auction houses don't. They give you both the hammer price and the all-in price in a neat little tabulated website where you can actually, they're click-through links to the lots. So you have to know the lot number, but thank you, Antiquorum, for reporting both the hammer and the all-in number. It makes our jobs easier.
So much. So, and even like if you're a collector, it really it helps you to really figure out how things went down, right? Because many times you hear stories of like overzealous collectors who didn't realize the premiums. They paid a high hammer price and then they got the premiums. So let's let you go do a little bit more education and kind of figure out what your move should be as a collector. So shout out for Antiquorum, a pretty decent website. I haven't been on the website in a very long time, but a really, really good setup.
Yeah, I mean, and also this auction, thank goodness, was like half the amount of lots they had in Geneva.
I was going to ask.
768 lots was way too many. Let's see here. What did they have here? I think they had something like 349, 50, something like that. They had a couple of Jorns. They had a Chronometra Souverain Nacre. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in French. It's the mother of pearl. That was 114 hammer, 143 all in, 144.
Oh, I feel like that's a pretty strong result for those. I feel.
Yeah, I think that was good. And then an Octa Calendrier, 153 hammer, 191 all in, and that feels strong.
Yeah, pretty strong as well. So you see that things are, because the Nacre itself would be it was under 100 for quite a while, right? And now see it's kind of going right back up.
Honestly, I'd love to see the Octa Calendrier in comparison to a QP, like the modern QP. I'd love to know what those are going for at auction. I'd love to see the kind of comparison there, because you've got the pull of like early Jorn's design language, brass movement, but then you've got the like legibility, cleanliness, ease of use of his modern perpetual system. So for me, that would be a really interesting comparison to go back and forth on. I want to keep my eyes out and see if there's one coming up, because if there is, I think this is a point we should come back to.
No, for sure, because people love, and I love the modern The modern variation of the QP, just a great system, and just how everything's laid out. I love that layout. But the Calengier, I don't know. There's something about it. Maybe George Mayer has one, and that maybe is why I fell in love with it. But something about that Calengier, I think the aesthetic that just it just reminds you. It just feels like an older FP Jorn. So I think they'll be strong. But I do see a lot of people jumping up to get the modern one. So that's a great comparison. Actually, I feel like I need to do some research there to see if there's have any how the modern ones have been performing in auction results, because I do think it is a super attractive piece that people honestly just love no matter what. Forget the hype and everything else. So that'd be very interesting to see their comparisons.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that I just think the calendar A has that original more like, off center dial, smaller hours, minutes, just like that, more what I think of as like early Jorn DNA, where the new one feels like it maybe could come from another brand. But
For sure.
at least the design layout, I think in terms of like interesting, unique Jorn, I would go Calendrier all day.
Oh yeah, I mean, like to me, is my favorite watches. I always say the G Money special, which is the Tokyo edition on the titanium
Yeah.
bracelet, is just like I saw George Mayer wore it. He told me the story about his particular one, which made me just fall in love with the brand even more. But I've seen him wear it on many different occasions, and it's just the perfect watch where if you don't know what it is, you have no idea what that is on somebody's wrist. But if you could just appreciate art and just great timepieces, you spend an hour just looking at that watch and just like, why isn't there more like these out there? So definitely, I'm a big fan of the Calengier,
Totally.
but I'm a big perpetual head too. So like, this is a race I'm gonna watch. I can see them certain models definitely fighting.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's one we come back to. Let's keep our eyes on the future auctions here and see what comes up. Because maybe that's a good market comparison for us to hit on here. But there's definitely something there. I mean, there's definitely horses for courses here, and everybody's got their own, is going to have their favorite version. So I think that's going to be the deciding factor there. It all comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, I think there will be eventually in the next like 10 to 15 years, just the battle of modern Jorn versus vintage Jorn versus, brass movements. It's going to be an interesting battle because the modern stuff are excellent too, right? The new Furtif is amazing. Astronomique, the FFC, all these great heavy hitter pieces that are being produced today that I think all the guys who did what they had to do to get these watches today aren't going to let those go easy as well. So very interested to see, like, this is very, very far on the road, as you see a lot more modern but special pieces appear on the market, how they will compare to some of the older generations. I do feel like particular modern pieces might go be here while some, vintage will always lead. And of course, the subscription series will lead. But as you get beyond brass movement, it becomes a very interesting race.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's a good point. I had kind of put the FFC and the Astronomique and the Furtif out of my mind, just like, being what I would call like non-mainstream Jorn pieces right now.
Exactly.
Those definitely have Jorn DNA and signature all over them. And I think they are, a continuation of really what he started with the Calendrier, with the Octa UTC, with the Tourbillon, just some of the odder pieces, I guess like odder designs and earlier designs in his collection. So definitely a fair point, and I think there's a lot of good stuff to pay attention to from Jorn going forward too, because we've not really seen a lot of modern Jorn come up at auction.
No.
So the modern versus sort of early, man, that's going to be a fun comparison to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a big fight. I think a lot of people aren't going to sell their special modern Jordans because the leadership at FP Jordan is monitoring things at auction, and it's so hard to get pieces that you're probably going to burn yourself with a Furtif or like something really crazy, like I imagine a FP Jordan restaurant piece. If you sold one of those red label Elegantes, FP himself might stab you. You know what I mean? So I think there are a lot of people there who I could see it. I could see with the knife with the gears and everything, and and you see everything. Bam! I made it. I designed it, and I got you in the gut. Don't sell my watches. So I think there's a healthy fair, respect by collectors who are getting modern special pieces to not put them directly in the market. I see so many watches from brands that were just released are in the market. So I think from Jordan, you won't see that, but it will happen because these people need to pay bills. People want to get other watches. And when you have 100, you got something has to go. So I think sooner or later we'll start seeing that trickle out, but it will be very, very interesting because as you made a great point, a lot of those pieces like the FFC, the Astronomique and the Furtif, they are true brainchilds of F.P. Journe, extensions of pieces that he really wanted to make, that he just found himself in the situation. Well, I can make $1 million Astronomique. Why not? I can make an FFC. Somebody will pay for it. So we kind of went past the place of like, okay, I just want to make nice complications and slowly graduate the collections into like, let me just go as crazy as I want because there is somebody who will buy 5 of them. And so I think those are the pieces that are, it's going to be exciting times ahead. Jordan season is still in full effect. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. All right. Last one from Antiquorum, and possibly their biggest lot, possibly the biggest lot, I think, of the of the auctions. The Piece de Colle, the school watch prototype from Greubel Forsey, in collaboration with Philippe Dufour and Michael Boulanger, or Michel Boulanger, 1.275 all in. It's the predecessor to the Handmade one. For me, with those names behind it, especially with Dufour's name or Dufour's signature on it, I feel like that needed to go higher. I felt like that needed to be at the $2 million mark.
I agree with you, especially when you told me about it, because I didn't hear about the auction. And I looked at it first. It's a beautiful watch, and if you like the Handmade one, it's like a little bit sportier version of it case wise, right? I just love the layout. But Philippe Dufour's name is on the dial right underneath Greubel Forsey. So to me, that makes it a $2 million watch, right? Like a piece unique prototype made with Philippe Dufour, so like he's the one. I don't know, man. If you know Philippe Dufour and you just watch a few videos of how he goes about his day, I want to. If I can afford it, I'm paying high for anything that he's touched. That's because I know there's true blood, sweat, tears, everything on his timepieces. But I do think if this was a piece that was at Box and Russo, this hits 2 million. I don't see. Yeah. I see Arl Box. I love when he does it. He always does like the last 10 or 15. He comes out like he's just been like in a fight, and he's like, I just gotta come back for 10 more lots, guys. And he always does a great job of like whipping up the energy at the end of the room. So I could see him not allowing this to be sold under 2 million. I could see him saying something like, when else would you see a piece that's Greubel Forsey, Philippe Dufour, a piece like this? The man hours that went into this. I think this pops up at auction in another 2 years and doubles the result for sure.
I love the imagery of Arl Box like coming back from a boxing match, because I think he just like goes off screen, man, and he's just there having an espresso and like some Pellegrino and just like taking a few breaths, and he's like, they got it. And then he comes back out and he's like, hey guys, let's keep it gentlemanly here. No, I'm not going to half the bids. We're bidding in $100,000 increments. If you don't like it, you can walk away right now. And he's kind of ruthless in getting top value for everything, and it's what you want in an auctioneer and from an auction house. And I agree. I think he could have eked out $2 million for this thing.
For sure. He I've been watching auctions live since they started to do them live, right? So look, a few years ago, and it's just he just has a swagger to him. I understand it now. Before I didn't understand why would an auction house team with like an independent auctioneer. I didn't understand the history that much. But then, like, if you meet him, you see his scholarship, and he truly knows what he's talking about. But he has a charisma that I aspire to. Like, I have charisma, but not in a room like that. In a room like that, I shrink up. I become nervous. And he is there telling millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, whatever, be gentlemanly. We're gonna keep the bids at $100,000. let's not mess around here. Let's not act like kids. And they listen to him. He gets it done. And if I was somebody who was having my piece sold, that's the only honestly, that's the only person I would want. I would do whatever. I would wait 6 months to sell my watch. If they said, hey, if you wait 6 months, it could be in the next boxing resale. Just because that energy, that's what you want. At the end of the day, luxury is experience, right? Because the numbers, depending on who you are, the numbers start to not mean anything. So what makes the numbers that not mean anything come out? The experience, the excitement, feeling that you got to tangle and you went in the ring. RL Box was a referee and you got to win that match because whoever enters that boxing ring with Box in the middle is going to be a real fight. So you feel good to say, hey, I won that piece. So definitely, I'd love to. I hope they bring this piece back. I just don't think a group of Forsey to 4 with the Zuckerberg effect. I don't know. I feel like Mark Zuckerberg would have paid $2 million for this. You know what I'm saying? So
totally.
They definitely. Hopefully, he'll come back.
It's that predecessor to the entire Handmade series. This is the prototype that kind of proved. It was the proof of concept for the Handmade series. That they could do it. That they could make everything but the case and crystal in house. And I don't know. I feel like it deserved.
Horologically important. No,
it deserved more.
Horologically important watch. I agree with you. I just think something like this tucked away in antiquorum, and I don't know how people buy at auctions or how it works, but definitely something like this you'd love to see a Hodinkee article on it or that type. You know what I mean? That type of press buzz. I feel like this is one of those where it's like it pops up in a Hodinkee, a blog to watch or whatever. Just like it does a couple of rounds because this is unique, this is special, and if I had that type of scratch, I would definitely be shooting for this versus a handmade one. Right?
Because this is
it's much more special.
This is the one. Yeah. It's
literally the one prototype. Philippe Dufour is not only did he develop the movement, and I can say that name is on the dial, which I think is a very important thing to have the name on the dial. Like, very, very special. So let's see. But somebody got to steal. We should say congrats to whoever.
For sure. Yeah, congratulations.
Congrats.
To quote Ace Ventura, congratulations on all your success. You smell terrific. Way to go, whoever you are. So congratulations. All right. Well, speaking of pet detection, New York. We've got Phillips, we got Christie's, we got Sotheby's coming up in New York. What are your picks for auction for each of those guys?
So I really focused more on Phillips just because they had so much. They just had me drooling.
Dude, there is too much good stuff in this auction. And if you are a US based buyer, this is one to watch or to get involved in.
Yeah, I think this is like, I was just looking through it. I was like, what's going on? Because I think this is super well curated. You got Black Label Elegante. You got the FP Journe T30, which I'm excited to see what's going on. The A. Longenzone, Lot 11, the 2022 Best of Show Concorso de Eleganza, I can't pronounce, de Eleganza, whatever. That thing, somebody's going to light the house on fire. That is the most sexiest look. The only thing you could want more on that Longenzone is to see the case back, and I understand why you don't. But that shade of salmon, rose, one of one, that is going to go crazy. But if I had to pick one, Todd, I don't know why you do this to me. If I had to pick one, it would be the Patek Philippe 3970E with the champagne dial. I think that's the right reference. But there's a beautiful 3970E with a champagne dial that is just gorgeous. And, maybe it might not go. Yeah, let me just get lot number 94, 3970E. I just love the look of this. I love perpetual calendar chronographs. I'm a big 3970 fan. So me personally, if I was a bidding man, that would be the one that I would be bidding on. But in my opinion, Phillips New York, this auction, this is a really good one. A good mix of modern, but a lot of neo-vintage and everything special. Not a bunch of Submariners and stuff that people don't care about. This should be a good auction.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I did it to myself, too. I looked through this auction and I was like, oh, God, I don't know what to pick here. There's too much good stuff. We talked about the T30. I'm very curious to see where that goes. There is everything and anything in this auction. For me, it's lot 25, the Charles Frodsham double impulse chronometer, tribute to George Daniels. unique piece in yellow gold. Holy nonsense. I think that one, based on what we've seen, there's been a Frode trim in every Phillips auction, and I don't know if they had a bunch of them consigned to them at the same time, but I think that is going to be a stunner. Like, I think you're just going to see hit after hit after hit in this auction.
Yeah, I agree with you. How about the Charles Forsham pocket watch, split second minute repeater and tourbillon? That's lot 24 right before him. And like,
Yeah.
see, there's so much good things. I forgot about this. I think that's going to have an excellent result. We've seen them really perform well on the auction market. And these are watches where I think there's at least a 10-year wait list or something like that.
Yeah.
When I first heard about them and met the gentleman working with them now, it was like 4 or 5 years. So it's super hard to get these watches. And if you love British watchmaking, I mean, a Charles Forsham tribute to George Daniel using, the extension of the coaxial escapement movement, this is all you could ever want. So I could see somebody jumping for the pocket watch and jumping for the wristwatch as well. I think we're going to see some really interesting results, especially since it's a U.S. auction too. Great pick.
Totally. Dude, I'm also going to break my own rule here. You know me. I'm normally focused on indies. I'm picking a Patek. And I am not picking a round Patek. So here's some weird choices. Lot 35, 5951P. The tonneau or cushion shaped 5951P. It is a perpetual calendar, moon phase, day night indication, and mono pusher split seconds. Holy nonsense. It's everything you could want from Patek in a unique shape. I have loved this watch since I saw that they were making this. I saw this watch and I was like, I don't, the only thing like in my closet that I could wear this with is a tuxedo, but I would wear a tuxedo multiple days a week just to wear this watch. Tuxedo I'm that level of fancy. I'm that level of fancy, CQ. I will do it.
Listen, if you put this in your collection, I would not blame you, sir.
Oh, I think that thing is it's killer. It's just it's probably one of my favorite Patek references. The only way it gets better is if you put a blue dial or salmon dial in there, and let's get real weird. But I'm not on that level with Patek where I can request piece unique from them. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
To me, like these are the Pateks I love, man. I just love grand complication with a little bit of a modern sporty twist. I love the TV cushion case there. And again, it's something where if you get this, you just change your wardrobe. You don't even think about it. You wear tuxedos every day. Maybe you got some type of casual tuxedo for the weekend, and you figure out the shoes. But you do what you got to do because it's up to you to live up to this amazing piece you have on the wrist. And some jobs you just gotta, when you take the job, you do what you got to do to make it work. But I love this watch. I don't blame you.
Dress for the job you want, not the one you have. I don't know what I'd be wanting, but hell, I'd make it work for that watch. That watch is amazing, man. All right, Christie's.
Let me pull up Christie's. I do have one from Sotheby's. So I did pick one from Sotheby's.
I pulled the Greubel GMT out of Christie's. I just, I have a soft spot for Greubel. We've spoken a lot about them in the last 2 episodes here. I love Greubel. I love what they're doing. I also love their GMTs. I think they're really cool. The summertime adjusted calendar on the case back side of these watches is super cool. Or not calendar. The summertime adjusted time zones on the case back, super awesome. I think that's a great watch, and I look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah, I think right now, if you have the capital, Greubel Forsey is probably the best buy you can get on the auction or even the secondary market. Nobody's going to give you that quality of finish, and nobody's going to give you the quality and complications like you were discussing with the GMT piece and just how they put the package together. People will give you a GMT, but not in the way that Greubel Forsey would do it in just an amazing way. And their brand is going through a little bit of a struggle, so you can just grab them at great value on the secondary market. I do see a day that they catch themselves and things start to get better. But I think right now, a lot of people who love Greubel just know they don't need to pay up for it. So you just see, just great pieces. So I'm interested to see what that hammer's for as well.
And
But Greubel,
it's
again,
lot 21 for anyone who is curious about this.
yeah, I think they have a pretty good lineup as well. For my pick, I'm gonna do the Black Label Calendrier, man. Just because we've been talking about Calendrier. That's lot 19. And we've been seeing Black Labels do strong all auction season. So I think this Calendrier will do really, really well. It's a watch I personally like. But I think a lot of people, like we were saying earlier, they're putting together their full sets. So I think you're just going to see all these special Black Label, ruthenium, steel pieces, Holland to Holland pieces, all these pieces that people want to put together a full set. You're going to see them do very, very strong just because you can't get them today and nobody's going to sell you them. Soon you're just going to see sets come up for auction. I have a feeling it'll just be like, and people will be like, hey, I'm not selling one piece. If you want, you got to buy the whole set and break it up. And it'll be dealers buying sets just to break them up and things like that. Like it was in the beginning, actually.
Yeah,
so it's
totally.
A funny
full circle.
Is happening. Oh, I love
absolutely,
that GMT.
Man.
I just saw the Greubel again and I just love seeing that globe. It's so good. So good.
It's awesome. I love that globe. I think that's what gets me about that watch. The fact that somebody in their atelier sits there and, like they forge or they CNC this tiny little globe out and then somebody paints it. And, like you just have to appreciate that that's someone's full-time job is making miniature globes to go inside of a wristwatch. I love that.
Yeah, and I wish people realize that more, right? That's somebody's their career, right?
Yeah.
For now, is like for this watch is to make that watch look as beautiful as possible, to make that globe look as beautiful as possible. And all day they're there with a little micro painting, depending on how it's done, with the loop and everything. And they're just like, and when you understand that, when you understand what man hours truly mean when it comes to true hand finished, handmade artisanship in watchmaking, that's when the dollars really make sense. Because when you understand that sometimes to glue the screws, that might be a week of just you gluing screws. You know what I mean? Once you start understanding that, then you understand why we say Greubel is such a great value. Because if you went and did it yourself, you'd charge $1 million for sure. Just letting
totally
you for half the watch.
I was just talking to a collector who was just at Greubel, and he met the guy who makes all of their screws. And he makes every screw that they use. They make all of their screws in-house. So one, that gives you a sense of their commitment to handmade and their commitment to like being crazy in terms of their manufacturing. So they like cost already is baked in there. And I think on a good week, the guy can make like, I forget what the number was. It was like on a good day, he can make 2 screws per hour, maybe, or something like that. And then like on a bad day, he's making like 0.75 of a screw per hour.
Oh yeah,
like
I could imagine,
dude. Like
on
that's
a
his
rough
whole
day,
life.
like and it's like.
Or like just coming in on like a Tuesday after a long weekend, like oh, back to making screws. Here we go.
I don't want to make no screws today. I'm giving you 1.7. But that's such a true thing, and like I love that so much because like when you see the finished product and you realize how many other brands are just machining screws and stuff, but like this brand said no, we want for like every dollar you spent, you can really calculate it in your watch, and you don't have to do some type of crazy multiplier and some crazy calculation. This is the man hours. This is the material cost. We put a little bit of profit in there, but much less than you probably realize when it comes to something like this. And then it's like, oh, now I understand. And it just makes you appreciate it so much more. I just feel, when I talk about a brand like Greubel Forsey and I see a brand like Greubel Forsey, and then, I could list 5 other brands that are making things that the price points are now getting closer to a Greubel Forsey. Before, Greubel was so high, right? Oh, the prices are so high. So like the conversation never really kind of really compared to other brands. Now, a lot of other brands are very close to a Greubel. So then it's like, what are you giving me, ceramic? I see Hubel ceramic at 10 grand, 12 grand. What are you giving me, perpetual calendar? So what are you really giving me? Because when I go to Greubel, I get to talk to the guy who makes 1.7, 0.7 screw on a bad day. And let me tell you, I have a coffee with that guy, and I'm like, you know what? I'll wait an extra 3 months if it needs for this watch to be completed. I'll pay
Yeah.
the extra premium because I understand, man. Sometimes I have a bad day. So if you have a
Yeah.
bad day, and if it's truly you having a bad day being the delay on my watch, and not just the CNC machine got messed up or like some random thing, but truly, hey, the screw guy, he had one of those weeks, man. Like
Yeah.
I would take that email and be like, hey, tell him take another week. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that I
Like,
love. You just don't get that,
buy him an espresso from me,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Please. What's his favorite bakery? Like, hey, let's keep him happy because I want my screws nice.
Yeah,
I want the good screws, not the bad day screws.
Yeah, not the bad ones.
No.
All right, man. Sotheby's. I went with an unconventional pick here. I went with the Frank Mueller T-Master Platinum tourbillon. Tonneau shape, platinum case, platinum bracelet, blue guilloche dial. It's just like it's classic Frank Mueller to me. It feels like Frank Mueller. And this is probably, it's lot 72. Their estimate is 25 to 45 US. I'm guessing that this is in the low end of that spectrum because I don't know a lot of people, picking up Frank Mueller, but I just think it's a cool watch. I just think it's it's super neat. Like opportunity to own a funky, weird imperial tourbillon from Frank Mueller. Like that's all I got.
I would tell people that like on the wrist, this thing looks excellent. And Frank Mueller is just one of those brands that for all the reasons it's where it is today. But neo vintage Frank Mueller, man, if you want something solid that inside and out is excellent, and the value you could just steal.
Yeah,
right here, white gold perpetual, white gold tourbillon on a white gold bracelet that's gonna feel good. That was semi-modern as well, so it's not gonna be something that's broken a lot. And like I agree with you. I could see why you picked this watch because they just look so good. And sometimes I look at like Frank Mueller and Roger Dubuis as well. I'm just like, I get it. I get why this was on fire at one point.
Yeah.
I could see myself, totally. When it was popping, I could see exactly why Frank Mueller was like killing them. And then you put the complications in there as well. So no, I think this is a great steal. And so this auction does have a lot of nice neo vintage steals in it. I will say.
Yeah.
For mine, I did, what's the lot number? It is a Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Perpetual, lot number 75.
Okay.
Made for the New York City boutique opening. And this one is stainless steel with a beautiful kind of like, almost like a slate blue dial with red indices. And I just love it. Something I never seen before. And I just thought this is a great pick. Circa 2011, so it's not too old as well. And this will probably be something I tell some of my collectors to hunt who are looking for a nice VC. They want something special, and you'll probably get this at a good price. The estimate's between 30 to 60,000. I don't imagine this explodes well over the estimate. So anywhere in there, you're getting a funky, unique piece,
Yeah. And it looks like the moon phase on there is actually like an applied piece of metal that has been mirror polished because you can see the hand. That's awesome. That's super cool, man. I'm into it. I think that's a great pick. I'm sure you can find a bracelet for that guy too because it comes on a leather strap, but that's a bracelet watch for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a Generation 2 VC, so you just pick up a chrono or something and you steal the bracelet and then you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anything else? Anything else catch your eye in New York?
Nothing too crazy. Like as again, the Phillips auction was just the variety is good. Sotheby's as well has good variety. More on the modern side with the Sotheby's with a few like neo vintage picks in there. But all good watches I think people should consider. So this come out before the auctions. I definitely think check them out. These are US pieces, and hopefully with the tariffs won't be there. And I think there's a lot of good opportunity to get something special. I see there's a VC Mercator American edition, the Japanese one that went in, I think that was Phillips, Hong Kong. That one really good. So I think that'll do good as well. But all around this, I'm much more excited for these, I think, than the other auctions. One, because the variety of pieces, I really think all the houses who are presented in the U.S. are doing a good job. And two, I want to see what the U.S. buyers will do, with the pieces in the U.S. without that 10% confusion. I think this auction week will be the truest test to tell us how the rest of 2025, at least for the next 5 months or so, will look like in the market.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's a good synopsis. And now that we've gone officially double our projected time,
Oh, yeah, love it.
I think that's a good spot to wrap, man.
Yeah.
CQ, thank you for doing this. This was awesome, man. Obviously, we're going to do it again to wrap up New York. So
looking forward
stay
to it.
tuned.
Thank you so much, Todd. It's always a pleasure to be on and always a pleasure to talk to the people. So looking forward to the next one.
CQ, absolutely, man. Thank you very much. Be good.
All right. See you soon.